Thank you.
Red off.
Oh, yeah, no.
Green. This is
We bring active.
Oh, okay.
So I have
All right.
Well, let her have it.
All right, I'm gonna hit the hammer. This meeting of the Millburn Short Hills Business Organization Incorporated is called to order. This is the meeting of Thursday, June 9th, 2022. Tracy, can you read our sunshine compliance statement? Please.
Notice of the time, date, location, and agenda of this meeting, to the extent known, was provided at least 48 hours prior to the commencement of this meeting in the following manner pursuant to the provisions of NJSA 10:4 through 6, the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice was posted in Town Hall and the township's website by notification to newspapers on December 22nd, 2021 of the schedule for 2022, and by providing notice to the township clerk.
Thanks, Tracy. Please stand as we salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
of
United States of America,
the republic
to which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty
not to
and
be
justice.
justice for all.
That's right. Roll call, please, Tracy.
Jemana Culligan is absent.
No, she's on Zoom.
Oh, she's on
She's
Zoom?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Not yet.
Okay.
Okay.
Tracy Katz-Levine here. Andrew Morgan
Here.
is here. Okay. Oh, why don't we see? Oh, I see at the top. I see you now. Okay. Michael Parlavecchio,
Here.
Ashley Schultz. Not here. No. Richard Wasserman,
Here,
Stephen Weiner,
Here.
Jackie Benjamin Lieberberg,
Here.
Jesse Mulman.
Here. Thanks, Tracy. The purpose of a special improvement district is to promote, grow, and support local businesses, property owners, residents, and visitors. Millburn Township SID ordinance designates a new district management corporation whose mission is to encourage the economic, cultural, and social vitality of Millburn Township through increased marketing and visibility, improved and renewed infrastructure, and local business development and engagement. Next, we have approval of minutes. Do we have any minutes for approval, Tracy?
Yeah, the May 12th minutes are attached. Did anybody have any questions or comments on that?
Okay, there's no additions, changes, deletions. Can we have a motion to approve the minutes from May 12th, 2022, please?
Motion.
Second,
Second.
okay, got a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Those minutes from May 12th, 2022 are approved. Next, we have a presentation. Steve, do you want to tee off our presentation, please?
I will speak very briefly. I met the folks from the Union County Economic Development Corporation through some networking events with my counterpart in Cranford, as well as the Millburn Cranford Chamber, which work together. I think it's a great opportunity to work with this organization. They focus on a lot of small business grants, training programs. It's a terrific asset that we can leverage here. They do work in multiple counties, not just Union, and the folks will speak about that. But this is something that I would like for you folks to understand the services that they provide and how we can offer that as a free service to the businesses within the Special Improvement District. So Mary is here to give us a short presentation. She actually gave this presentation 3 weeks ago or so to our Business Advisory Committee, and I think it was received very well, and I hope the same today.
Is Mary,
I think Mary and
Joe online? Okay, we'll let them in.
Can you promote Joe as well?
Good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you. The Union County Economic Development is an organization, a nonprofit, and we are a CDFI organization. I'd like to be able to share my screen if possible, just so you can view a little bit about the Union County Economic Development. I don't know if you can see my screen or not.
Jesse, can you make
We have
the
3
speaker-
pillars within
Sorry.
our,
Hang on one second.
Sorry, excuse
We
me. I'm
don't
just
see the
asking, is there a
screen.
way to make the speaker be the large?
Yeah, so
It's
Mary,
something
you
from
have to share
Jesse's
your
end.
screen on your end and
Yeah.
then we'll be able to see it.
That easy for you guys to see, but-
Yeah,
Can't
but
hear.
I'm just
that's good.
hoping she can be on the speaker.
I can't hear you.
Mary, if you can share your screen, then it will
Okay,
come up.
share screen. Perfect, got it. Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the Union County Economic Development is a nonprofit organization. We've been in existence since 1977. We're known as a CDFI. What does that mean? We provide loans to small business owners as well as grants based on our programs. There's 3 pillars to the organization. There's our loans. We also have a training arm that is active all the time. We have a schedule for training events. If you click on training and go to the calendar, those training programs are available to any business in any of your territory and throughout the state of New Jersey. We also have a PTAC division, which is our government contracting, which helps business owners become certified in state and federal contracts. We also do training programs around that as well, and you'll see that on the training schedule as you progress through looking at that. Our mission is to assist organizations or businesses to foster economic growth, and we provide financial and technical assistance to the business community. We also have a diversity initiative. We provide financing, training, and mentors to entrepreneurs in the service territories, regardless of the class, the race, or the religion or sexual orientation. Our focus is underserved populations, and similar to like New Brunswick, Newark, Union County, there's different areas within the state that we cover. The UCEDC lending provides our community development financial institution. We are in partnership with the SBA. We do a lot of our loans through SBA and also through partnerships around other funding things for our grants. So we work a lot with banks. We do microloans up to $50,000. And we also do the 7A Community Advantage Loan, which is up to $250,000, as well as the 504, which is for commercial real estate and major equipment, and that's up to $5 million. Our training and technical, as I mentioned, they're free workshops. They cover business basics, marketing, finance, business plan, social media. We do have like specialty people that come in and do presentations, like a CPA or an attorney on contracts. We also provide business mentoring for all of our loan clients. And we have two special programs that we're very proud of, is our Entrepreneurship as a Second Chance. And that program is for individuals who have been formerly incarcerated and want to start a business. That is a 7-week program that they go through. And as part of that program, they get a forgivable loan. And with that, they also get 2 years of one-on-one counseling. They're assigned a mentor. Virtual Incubator Program is, again, it's an 8-week program, same concept, forgivable loan, business counseling, but that's open to all business owners. And that program is, the target is the underserved communities. So this is an example of the Virtual Incubator Program. They go through every other week. We do a business assessment with them, marketing strategy, financial statements, projections. And then we do a group counseling where we are constantly engaged with the business owners. We also provide to them ongoing mentoring from week 9 for a period of 2 years. And I'll forward all these slides to Steve so he has them and he can distribute them to you. Our PTAC group they provide free seminars, one-on-one counseling, registration, certificate. They do proposal development. A lot of businesses, when they go after federal contracts, have difficulty doing that. In the past, we've only focused in Union County. That has changed based on the regulations within the SBA. And to show the success of the organization, we have our 2021 impact statistics. We did 162 loans in $4.8 million. We prepared or conducted 126 workshops and had over 2,000 attendees. And our government contracting team did 1,200 contracts were awarded, over $125 million. When I was first in conversation with Steve, we were talking about different programs that we could offer to the organization based on what our mission is and to service the businesses. And because it's Short Hills and Millburn, there is not a diverse population. And Steve said, well, the population is diversifying, that we could potentially engage in an opportunity. And I said to him, all of your businesses can engage working with the UCEDC from a loan perspective, as well as any of the training programs. That is open to any business owner. So in prepping for this from a demographic perspective, I did run the demographics for the Short Hills and Millburn area. And your Asian population is actually increasing in both territories. And you can see that it's 29.2% in Millburn, and that is one of our diverse areas that we do service. And then in Short Hills, it's 31.9%. And I don't know if you took that information or not, but that information is there in the presentation. So how can we work together? As I indicated before, business owners at no cost can apply for our VIP program if they meet the criteria, and they go through that through our website, through ucedc.com. We have a COVID relief loan that is still available. If anyone needs funding, they can apply for that program as well, and there's a criteria for that. They also have the ability to apply for any of our loans, whether it's a microloan or a 7A program. I know in the Millburn and Short Hills area, there are several businesses that are either looking to expand or relocate some of their businesses. So that might be an opportunity for them. They can participate in any of our training programs, as I indicated prior, and they can participate in our PTAC programs on the website. Again, it's ucedc.com. And they can receive a certification assistant if they are a women business, minority, even the small business owner. And if they want to go for the 8A certification for the federal government, there is that assistance as well through our PTAC division. So what are the potential opportunities to work with UCEDC on another level? As Steve indicated, we were introduced through Cranford, which is one of UCEDC's partners. And when I came on board, we started doing one-on-one counseling once a month at the office in Cranford. So Cranford would send out an email to the business owners. They would schedule 4 slots once a month, and I would meet with the business owners and discuss what their needs were, whatever it was. If it was marketing strategies, social media, financial, if they needed a loan, if some of them were looking to buy or relocate their business, we had that capability as well. We've been doing that for about 6 months now, and it's been very successful. And we don't tend to get the same businesses If we get the same business, it's like every other month. But the businesses, we are beginning to get all of the businesses on Main Street, like they're taking advantage of the program. The other potential is our 8-week business development program that it could be available for Short Hills and Millburn. And that would be a combination of our VIP program, and there would be a fee attached to that. If we were to do something along the lines with that program, we would have to push that to 2023 as an option. And we'd have to have further conversations around that. So those are the potential. And with that, I'd like to introduce my boss, Joseph Lombardi, who is our VP for the training division, and he can address those potential opportunities and talk a little bit more. But I'd like to also open it up if anybody has any questions to ask.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for the opportunity to greet you all. Please let us know if we can answer anything further. Thanks, Mary, for going through everything so thoroughly and for creating the opportunity tonight. Are there any questions? What do you think we could do next?
I do have a general question. Hi,
Yeah.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you, Joe. Just generally speaking, how does our organization connect our constituent members to these potential opportunities? In other words, does Explore Millburn Short Hills have to formalize some kind of partnership agreement or apply for membership? Or is it just a matter of being aware of the opportunities and advising our members?
Yeah, it's first of all just the awareness. And I'm sorry, I couldn't see who that was.
I'm sorry, I'm Michael Parlavecchio. I'm the chair. I'm in the middle here.
Oh, hi, Michael. So, Michael, we encourage every business throughout the entire state of New Jersey to connect with us on whatever level works best for them. So it could be signing up for a training workshop. It could be seeking some one-on-one counseling. It could be attending a seminar on how to do business with the government. Or, in the special cases of these two particular training programs, if you meet those criteria and qualify, that, that's all free. So we certainly encourage every kind of business organization, every kind of, county, municipal level government to encourage their business communities to engage with us in that way. But then in addition to that, we have some counties and municipalities that really utilize our skills, our structure, our personnel and experience to more actively develop a downtown or improve a business district, and we do that through usually a combination of things where it's a focus on small business lending. And we'll dedicate a portion of time of a lending officer or two to that particular area, and that's coupled with specific training programs, specific training workshops that municipality can choose, and we have a slate of workshops that we do for them, and of course that comes with the one-on-one counseling that goes along with that. So we're open to working on something specifically for you. That those municipalities provide funding to us. As Mary stated at the beginning, we're nonprofit, we're private. We're not a government agency. We're funded by them. So at a federal level, that's SBA, and that allows us to do all the microloan. All the micro lending that we do, the under $50,000 loans, which is the greatest proportion of loans that we do, and then there's the 7(a) program, which is in the couple $100,000 range, and then the 504 program gets people into the millions of dollars. So we can handle any loan size and any project, but our sweet spot is definitely the small businesses, the moms and pops, the independents. The kind of salt of the earth businesses in downtowns is what we tend to do the most of. So, I mean, you tell us, fire away, whatever you want to do. And of course, we set up subsequent meetings for that. We could certainly do, a one-off workshop dedicated to Short Hills, Millburn, and really, put a focus on inviting your constituents, get out to your business district and have that focus just on your area as a workshop, and select from any one of those one-off workshops that you see on our website. It's a place to start, but we can do anything that you like.
Thank you. Anybody else have questions?
Hi, this is Stephen Weiner. I'm on the board here. Now it's
Hi,
hard to
Stephen.
see. Hi, quick question. So what is the sources of funding for the nonprofit organization? Is it the grants from county, states, federal? And who's originating the loans themselves? You said you just facilitating connections with the SBA directly, or how does that work?
Okay. There's several questions in there, Steve, but the funding is a number of sources. A big part of it is SBA, where the SBA makes loans directly to individuals, to businesses, only in times of crisis. And unfortunately, we've seen a lot of that lately with the COVID and floods and hurricanes and so forth. So the public has kind of gotten used to, in the last couple of years, dealing directly with the SBA with PPP and EIDL loans and those sorts of things. But all the rest of the time, the SBA makes funds available to CDFIs like us, community development financial institutions, and some banks. So we tend to do the kind of lending that most banks won't do or can't do, lending to startups and early stage businesses, and and a particular focus on minority owned businesses and any struggling communities and underrepresented populations. So it's SBA funds, but we're doing the loans directly. The other part of the funding is from New Jersey EDA, the New Jersey Economic Development Agency, which is the government statewide economic development. Some people get confused between UCEDC being a statewide independent economic development corporation and the New Jersey EDA, which is the government economic development agency. So they don't do any of that directly. They will, set us up to do training programs, to do lending programs, and that's how they get that out that way. And then the other funding comes from, for example, we have a funding relationship with Mercer County, with Union County, with the city of New Brunswick, the Hudson County. So there's examples like that where, and it could be Short Hills and Millburn who, fund us to do something specific for your needs. Does that answer the question?
Yes, yeah, thank you
Okay.
very much.
Sure thing.
Anybody else have any questions or?
Yes, Chair, could I ask a question?
Sure, Richard.
Sure. Hi, this is Richard Wasserman. I'm a committeeman for the township. And I guess my question is, if we wanted to invite you for for a future event, maybe a breakfast or another kind of a working meeting, would you be able to come locally to Millburn Short Hills and kind of have a loan officer available for our business community?
State that, you mean in a have a meeting to discuss that, or
No, like if we set up, if Explore Millburn sponsored a breakfast, let's say for our business community,
Right.
and the focus was on grants and lending opportunities, is that something that you could have a loan officer available to us locally?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we do a lot of meet the lender type events, and prior to COVID, these were always done in person, and usually had a number of exhibitors spread out in a hall, and so we definitely look for that, and would be happy to do that with you.
Okay, great. That could be very useful as we go forward. Thank you. Thank you very much for your participation tonight.
Is there
Thank
actually
you.
something coming up on the calendar?
There's something happening in Millburn next week.
No, nothing related to that. There's some other stuff going on. But
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a
but-
meet and greet on the 16th that you
Yes.
have happening.
But that's a ribbon cutting and cocktail party. Nobody wants to talk about.
All right.
No,
Well,
we would put something special together for you, but that's something that we'll have to work out with Steve. But I
Of
think
course,
that
yeah,
could be a
whenever you
valuable,
think it's appropriate.
yeah, that could be a valuable asset for our businesses because we have many businesses that want to expand and they've been through a lot this year.
Yeah, certainly. Look, if you remember nothing else from tonight, it's that what Mary pointed out earlier is that we still have that special crisis relief loan that is at 0%. And, while there's still funds available, it's still out there. And when that runs out, it's gone. But, these are small loans, 10,000 or 15,000 based on a credit score and some other, minor factors. So it's really easy to apply and a quick turnaround.
and that's on our website. If you send the business owner to ucedc.com under the financing, and there's a pre-qual application, you can have them fill that out and they can write in their COVID funding, and then it will be directed to our loan officers and they will do the evaluation and reach out to the customers. So I'd highly encourage, you to share that with the business population in your geographic areas, because a lot of people don't have any more COVID money left. So, and businesses are still scrambling and trying to get back on their feet from COVID. So it's an opportunity for funds.
So the reason that I wanted folks to come on tonight is, we've talked a lot about access to capital, various programs that we've either run or experimented with. Training programs, I think, are so underutilized by small businesses because they can be incredibly diverse, especially if they're free. Mentoring is so important. I think a lot of the information that we're going to gather in terms of what businesses need is going to be through the business survey, which Amanda will talk about later tonight. But I really wanted you guys to understand what UCEDC could offer. There's certainly a lot of free opportunities, right? Sharing information about their programs. Wanted to get everyone's consensus and buy-in that this is something that can be beneficial to our businesses, and that there was no objection to explore sharing their information via email blasts and hosting events and all that kind of stuff. And then should we want to formalize down the line, certainly based on the reaction from the business community, as Mary said, probably more of a 2023 thing. But I would very much like to continue to do this and get this word out to our businesses if there's no objection from the board.
I think it could be a very valuable tool for all our members. And I know Amanda's going to talk a little bit later about this survey. I'm thinking that also perhaps there should be a link on the survey that oh, how wonderful, that talks about this. If anybody needs to access it immediately, it's, information is power, and this would give our survey participants more information.
And I think this is really important how we define our SID, because again, we're a 5-district SID. We're not a retail SID. We know that the majority of our businesses are medical, professional services, restaurants, is extremely diverse. And when you present a diverse SID that has diverse geographies with diverse training and financing options, that's the economic development tool that we need to be providing. And that, I think, is what should define Explore going forward, about how we are engaged, not just in the downtown, not just in retail, but providing these services for businesses that are often not supported by traditional SIDs.
Well, Mary and Joe, thank you very much for your time and for the valuable presentation. And I'm sure you'll be hearing from us and from Steve.
Thank you very much.
Our pleasure.
Have a good
wonderful
night.
evening.
You too.
Just a quick request to Jesse. I think Jumana Culligan joined. If we can just shift her over to
And
Panelists.
Amanda, if you could bring her in as a presenter.
thanks.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you. That was good.
Yeah.
Next, we have public comments. When invited to speak, please come to the lectern, clearly state your name and address, and speak into the microphone so that your comments can be understood by all and properly recorded. If anyone is going to read from a prepared statement, please provide that copy to tracy@exploremillburnshorthills.org. Speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes. If you're not here in person and you wish to appear via Zoom, you'll also be able to fully participate during this period. Again, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. I see Vicky Powell.
Yes, Vicky Powell, 358C Millburn Avenue. Just a little quick mention. The last time you were at the meeting, you were discussing outside groups that are not in the CID participating in events, etc. I'm here to say that I noticed what was on the agenda for what you guys are discussing tonight. I like what is being said. I totally agree that it should not be done. I mean, we're paying into the CID, we're paying the rent. Home businesses that are not in the CID should not be allowed to be an event on a table in the street. I know I'm not for it, and I know a lot of my neighbors are not for it. So I'm happy to see that you're going to have something hopefully in place going forward, so we don't have this issue come up again. Also, are we still having street cleaning, like somebody coming and cleaning up garbage on the streets? Because they're looking a little sad. They're looking a little sad. I know when we had the DMDA, we used to hire somebody that came and picked up garbage, especially after the weekends. You know, you see a lot of trash in the beds, on the street, ice cream wrappers. It looks a little dirty. So I don't know if you guys are still doing that. I know it was time to clean. When we were here, we used to have it. And I know there was a grant that the town would get also that would be help to pay for that. But yeah, I think it needs to be addressed. And also any word on the mural, because it's now again, needs to be touched up because there's more chipping. And that is a big asset. Everyone takes pictures in front of it, so you don't want it to look shoddy.
The one at.
The greetings from
at
Yeah, there's
Haagen-Dazs,
more. It like it was never varnished.
Mhm.
I know Jesse had mentioned last time something about electrical. I don't know what that is, but you got to keep on top of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody online? Jesse? Okay. Representative Letterman.
Good evening, Perry Urso, 514 Millburn Avenue, Short Hills. First, I'd like to know when my questions I can expect for them to be answered. I'm asking, when did Mr. Grillo learn that the state required the adoption of an ordinance creating a pedestrian mall? Has this board ever received a written opinion regarding the validity as to its appointed expanded special improvement district under state law? This is relevant to the resolution supporting the creation of the pedestrian mall. Who on this board or Mr. Grillo surveyed all impacted businesses surrounding within the downtown business district of proposed pedestrian mall, whether they were aware or are in support, also including the flow of traffic throughout the season? Is the proposed pedestrian mall located within a county road, whose approval is also required? Are merchants getting stipends when hosting CID events? Can businesses receive a summons or violation for advertising prompts located on their private property and not on a public sidewalk? Why were certain business property owners on Lower Millburn Avenue excluded from the CID boundaries, especially considering a voting member and a current sitting TC member, Mr. Wasserman, has ties and connections to such excluding properties? I'd also like to ask the UCEDC, Mr. Wasserman was requesting hosting an event. Who will be responsible for financially hosting these events? And is the CID soliciting outside sources of loan officers? For marketing, we personally have been asked to help fellow local merchants with assisting with their marketing, website, social media. Is this something that Mr. Grillo should be providing? And lastly, Mrs. Lieberberg is advocating for immediate access link for people, for businesses to get to this loan and the UCED DC information, that it should be easily accessible. Wouldn't you agree that your Zoom link should be equally and easily accessible? Thank you. Have a nice night.
Thank you. Anybody else on there, Jesse? Okay, nobody else in the room, nobody else online. We will continue. Township Committee report. Richard.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the one thing I want to highlight is that the Township Committee voted unanimously at the last meeting to close Main Street over the summer and some weekends leading up to the fall. You know, this will allow, as was done last year, this will allow for a great place for community and music programming. And I think we all know from this past year, from last summer, what a tremendous success it was. I have many constituents and many of the businesses have reached out to me, and people love it. And I think it's such a good thing for the township. It's a good thing for the businesses, and it's a great venue. It's a great place where people can get together over the summer and to recreate and have some fun. So that's something the Township Committee took action on, and I think that's pretty central to some of the work that we are doing. So that's the main thing I wanted to point out in my report.
Thank you, Richard. Next, we have the Business Administrator's report. Jesse.
Yes, last Thursday, we had our second public information session on the Taylor Park Gateway project, where MKW and Associates presented 4 design proposals for the site. Initial schematics. There was a brief survey that was open to the public that closes tomorrow. It can be found on our website. I would urge any interested business owners to take a look at the initial schematics. MKW's intent is to take the feedback they received from the survey and condense those 4 proposals into one that they believe will be presented to our subcommittee and to the Township Committee for consideration. And so that's where the Gateway project is right now. I also want to mention that the Township hosted a very successful Memorial Day parade last Monday. Really appreciate everyone that came out and participated in that. And we look forward to putting that on next year. And that is my report.
Okay, thank you, Jesse. Anybody have any questions for Jesse? Okay, if not, oh, sure.
Mr. Molman, can you just highlight what the July 4th festivities will be for the town?
I actually cannot, because that's put forward by the Millburn Short Hills 4th of July Committee.
Okay.
I do know they have events planned for the year, but residents and business owners can go to, I forget the exact web address, but if they Google Millburn Short Hills 4th of July Committee,
Great.
They have information on their website with more information.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Cooper, do you have an attorney's report for us?
I do not. I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have. Otherwise, no report this evening.
Treasurer's report.
Sure.
Our two Stevens.
That's us.
Although I spell it correctly.
I'll
The
debate that
PH.
To the end, my friend.
Just a short report on expenses included in the packet as of June 3rd. Our account balance in the bank was $162,305.49. really nothing to point out although we did add a projected expense and balance because we're not scheduled to meet until the fall. I think this is just important information to share. So everyone could track what our projected expenses are throughout the summer. Bottom line though is our full approved budget of $291,525, and our projected expenses will be below that, $262,756.95. So any questions?
Okay, and how do we get that money? That comes through the assessment, and I wanted to provide everyone with an update. So I believe it was right around the middle of April, the town sent out its first assessment letters. As of Monday, the tax collector provided me with a list of delinquent payments. There are currently 9 assessed lots that have not paid. It represents $7,624, which is 3.7% of the total assessment. So the happy news is we've collected 96.3% of all the money due to us. So that is a terrific number. There are a couple of places, and I've been working with the tax collector on this. There's been some property transfers I've noticed as I went through the block and lots and said, well, what's actually on that block and lot? There's a couple of places that have new owners. And so there might have been some mistakes in the mailing, may have gone to old owners or incorrect addresses. So the third notices for delinquencies are going out probably in the next few days or so. And I'm working with her to rectify that as well, reaching out directly to some of these owners who may have not received it. But overall, to have just $7,600 out of a 206 assessment, remember we have 2,000 extra in the assessment due to the rounding, I think is a phenomenal number. And we're getting paid periodically by the township. So as they collect money, they dump it into us in a bucket payment. So right now, everything is going very well. This is the first year, obviously, that we've collected an assessment and had the assessment provided to us by the town into our bank account. Thus far, there's been no issues in collection or depositing into our account. So all good news to report here.
And Steve, isn't that percentage either average or below average in terms of delinquency versus the rest of the town?
Yeah, I think it's significantly lower.
Yeah.
We have an excellent tax collector in this town. She's tough and she's very diligent. But overall, in speaking to a lot of the folks that have not paid, I think most of it was really more of mailing or clerical issues. And again, it's 9 properties out of the entire SID. So overall, I think a very good collection rate at 96%.
Great, that is great. Thank you. Okay, moving on to marketing and events report. Amanda, you are here. Is she here? We lose her.
Oh.
You demoted her.
Oh,
So I have to introduce her again.
Amanda, can you hear us?
You can see her.
Let's go square.
Either promoted or panelists. Amanda, can you hear us?
Okay. Can you see me and hear me?
Yes, now we
Now
can.
we can
Hi,
Hear you,
Amanda.
we can't see you.
I saw you briefly. There you are.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I just had to be made a panelist, so I apologize for the delay. Okay.
No problem, Amanda. You're up.
Okay. So the first thing that was in your packets is the rubric related to pop-up events. It has kind of Christmas colors. It's red and green. So I'll just go over that with you briefly. Let me just pull it up. Let me know when you're ready.
You skipped over a couple, Amanda.
What do you, I thought that was the first thing.
Now you've got the summer events and then the open streets program.
Oh, I thought, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so summer events. We already have music scheduled. Steve's done a great job with that, a lot of returns. And those are all listed on the event section on our website. And we've been promoting them each week. And we put out a schedule for the next 2 months. So we're trying to make sure everyone's aware. The other things that we have coming, we're going to be working on a variety of programs. Some highlights for that would be we're going to add a page to the website, a landing page to list available properties within the SID. We're going to be working on branded outreach and signage for Help Wanted. There's a lot of need for staffing. I'm seeing things in some people's windows and sites. So we want to help promote what they need and get that out there. We're going to relaunch the Meet the Merchants program this summer. And I have several design projects, branded design projects, some of which are the clings put on the parking kiosks and the big belly garbage cans, as well as getting more effective signage for the Mars Turnpike District. And we're also going to be looking forward to having a window display contest in, September. And we're going to be doing a chalk fest in July. So those are just some highlights Steve has on his success tracker. And then moving into, and I'm going to be starting work on that on Monday. Concerning open streets. So I'm not sure, I believe everyone's aware, we went to the award program since we received the award for placemaking for the Main Street Pedestrian Mall. And so as Richard mentioned, that it's been passed that we'll be able to close it for a few months. So we're looking to program that not just with SID businesses, but for the community to have access to it. And we already have, there's been a chess group that's been there on Sundays and wants to continue to do that. We have Artivino set up for later in July. And tomorrow I'm going to be putting an invite out to businesses and the community to reach out to us if they want to, say have their yoga out there or some other type of event that they can use the space that it's for everyone. And then we'll have a more formalized schedule on the website. So that's what the Open Streets is about. And we want to treat this kind of as a pilot with this programming and see how it works, and then be able to use this as an asset to move forward and potentially do these things in other districts. So I don't know if anyone has any questions at this point regarding either summer programming in general or the Open Streets program.
Any questions for Amanda? Wait, we have.
Yeah. Sorry. Hey, Amanda, it's Stephen.
Yeah.
Just a
Hi.
quick question on the Open Streets program. So I guess if I understand it correctly, an opportunity for any businesses to sort of set up shop there for a day or a few hours or something, if it's yoga, if it's whatever.
Exactly.
Right? Just
No
providing
accounting
access.
firms. We don't want anybody doing, adding machines in the middle of the street. That's not interesting. But yes, experiential.
Experiential.
Yeah,
Okay, that's great.
exactly.
No, that's great. Thank you.
No, not at all. Okay, are we up to the rubric now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, so let me pull that up on my end.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so it's due to all the events we had this spring and the variety of them, it's really given us a lot of information to take into consideration when creating a rubric that's really been asked for by the businesses. So what this is how we see event planning specifically with pop-up vendors and people that are not in the SID, things like that. This is how we want to approach it from the explore end. We know we can't control everything and we're not trying to, but we see them as kind of three different types of events. Events that we manage, events that we are a partner with, and events that a business just puts together and they may have a couple questions or need a couple resources. And so concerning the pop-ups, Vicky, I know she already brought that up. She's taken a look. What we feel would be the appropriate way to move forward is that there are no pop-ups outside of businesses that are not in the SID. And that would be for events that we manage and events that we are a partner to. We can't control what an individual business does on their own time without, our input. But we do feel, because it's also another thing we cannot control, that we should allow for these SID businesses to host pop-ups and other vendors within their shops. And so that's something that would be inside. They're essentially being sponsored by that store. And we don't think that's going to be interfering as much. And so it puts it more on the business. We will be encouraging the businesses to work with other SID businesses and bring them in and do partnerships, which there have been already. But that's the stance there. The other information is more to set some expectations event-wise as to what we are going to be doing or what we can offer with different events. So for instance, Girls Night Out, we managed it. We did all the marketing and the event planning. Uffizi Moda wanted to do a fashion show because they had the selfie box. We worked with them on that. And then like Casa das Nadas is having the Portuguese festival on Saturday. I'm just doing some social media posts for them. Steve helped, with a few logistics, but those are kind of those three. So moving on to the marketing aspect of the rubric, marketing for SID merchants, we will do in all three event cases. Marketing for Nonsid merchants, we will not do. So essentially, if I'm doing a social post for an event and it's someone's including a non-SID business, that logo's not going to be there. The name's not going to be there. They're not going to be tagged. We are not including them in anything that we create or promote. That doesn't mean that the business that is a partner or someone else can't do that on their own. But from our perspective, we're not including them. Social media, we will do for SID businesses only. And then digital and print marketing are for SID businesses only. And we will not provide that to the events that are put together by individual businesses because we're not a partner at that point. And then coming to logistics, we're here to support all of these events however we can. Sometimes it gets a little dicey or a little confusing when you have to order tables and you need two more because there's a non-SID merchant. So little things like that, we feel there's kind of a little overlap and it's going to be okay. And then what was the other thing? And then it comes to funding. So our Explore managed events, we have our funding and we also get sponsors for, so that's handled. We are willing to give up to $500 in event support for partner events, like if Uffizi Moda event, and then we are not going to be supporting individual events financially. So does anyone have any questions, any thoughts? This is something we would like to move forward with for the rest of the year, and then use it again as another type of pilot, and then do a 6-month look back at the end of the year and see how this worked for everyone. So are there any questions?
Yeah, hi, Stephen, quick question on the Explore partner events where I guess we do give funding up to $500 for event support.
Mhm.
How often does that occur? I guess I'm not sure. Is that
So
a
that's
little more information on that?
Yeah, that's
I
something
guess.
like a mixer. We usually cover cost of the food, because obviously it's being utilized and consumed by
I
SID
got you.
merchants
So those
in a
mixers
SID
and-
business.
Okay.
Sometimes there will be an event where a vendor says, the selfie box is a good example. There was some additional materials that they wanted to promote. They wanted some more flowers. They wanted a runner. It was a great event for Upper Millburn Avenue, great event for us. So because they put up some expense, we did as well. So, we keep it within that $500 threshold. And I would say it's less than 10 times a year.
Thank you.
I have a question. Sorry if I missed this. I was just trying to understand. And thank you, Amanda, for putting this together. It's definitely helpful. Under logistics, explore partner events, the support to non-SID merchants. Are you saying that because there are some non-SID merchants that are participating through the partner, that we're kind of assisting with logistics
Yeah,
overall?
so it
That's the
it
part I
tends to
didn't
be,
Totally understand.
as Amanda said, it's
I'm
really small
sorry if-
stuff, so.
Sorry if I didn't, if
No,
you
no, no, not at
said
all.
that and it went over my head.
So for instance, if we were doing an event and a SID business was hosted, let's use we'll just use the Uffizi Moda example,
Right.
because that's what we thought, I think was a good
Sure,
defining one. I think there was a handful of non-SID businesses that were doing blowouts or nails, whatever it was. They had a couple that were in the SID, they had a couple that weren't. And they just needed like extra folding chairs. So we had DPW bring them over. It was not necessarily to support the vendor, it was to support the event hosted by.
Right.
So as Amanda
Okay.
said, it's kind of a gray
Okay.
area. You know, it comes down to things as exciting as folding tables. So we think, we didn't want to say no because it's an integral part of hosting the event. So we
Right.
thought, err on the side of caution to just say yes, but within reason.
Just question. And again, yeah, thank you for reiterating that. If we do an event in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce, this can come up last time.
Yeah.
And then there's some businesses that are members of the chamber, but are not members of the SID. But if we're co-sponsor, I'm trying to think what's something
Correct.
we've co-sponsored with the chamber.
I can,
Flat out.
so that's what we would treat more as a partner event.
Okay,
So the chamber would need to find businesses that are in the SID to host them. And that's what actually happened at Girls Night Out, is several of them were housed by merchants. So now that we understand the concern, and we feel that this solution will make it easier for all of us to understand what we're doing and how we're supporting and partnering with events. So I think, does that answer your question?
I think Amanda just misspoke slightly. That would be under the explore managed events, that first line. So what happened, right, was that the chamber wanted non-SID businesses to have tables on the street. Under this scenario, that would not happen. They would not be on the street, and it would be incumbent either on the chamber or the pop-up business to find a SID merchant who was willing and interested in hosting them inside.
Right.
As a partnership. So that,
Right.
if a business feels like that bringing a pop-up would enhance them, great, that's fine, that's their decision. But they're also not sitting right on the sidewalk next to one of our SID businesses that's trying to obviously
Right.
attract customers.
so I think it just would be, that makes sense. I would just think it would be good to then share this. I know we have a very nice working relationship with the chamber, that it would be good to share this sooner rather than later, so that we're not getting in the weeds of an event and then all of a sudden they're like, wait, what do you mean? I just think it would be good to, if this is going to be our policy, that we just let them know so they understand the parameters of partnering.
So that's what
together.
we're here for tonight. We want to understand if there's consensus from you guys as to whether this is a good policy going forwards. And if so, we will articulate that to the chamber and then any other group that we work with over the next 6 months. And as Amanda said, we'll have a 6-month look back at the end of the year and see if this was functional or not. And obviously we can tweak it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the chamber is a little different than other organizations because they have a large number of members. So that's the one I just feel. Well, first of all, I think this makes a lot of sense. I'm glad we're gonna kind of pilot for 6 months and then see. And I don't know how many things we're planning to partner with the chamber on. I just don't know if this would lead them, if that would be like a factor that might cause pause about partnering together because they're concerned about.
I think the contrary. I think it defines the parameters of a working relationship, and everyone understands what's within the confines of that relationship, and can work within that. So because the missions are different,
Yeah, I understand. I think from our perspective, this makes sense. I guess I'm just thinking about for members of the chamber, if they partner with us on an event, it just means that chamber members don't all get equal access to things at that event. So that was my concern, is might the chamber be a little more hesitant to partner on things, but it may be a non-issue.
I tend to think it wouldn't be an issue. I think to Jackie's point, I'd rather have, if I was one of those businesses, I'd rather have very clear expectations of what I'm eligible to do. And so if you want me to come to an event, but I can only be indoors, all right, maybe I take it, maybe I don't, but there's no ambiguity. And if that's conveyed by Heather and the chamber straight away, because you say, "Look, this is what Explorers said, this is what their board has dictated, the Explorers paying, if not all, the majority of the bill. Those are the rules of the game." I think where we got tripped up, was that we didn't have this in place, and every event is different and every engagement is different. I think having a strict rubric here says, well, no, these are the rules.
Right. And Steve, and Mr. Chairman, can I make a statement?
Sure.
I'm also in support of this new policy. I think we have to have a spirit of protecting our merchants and against, I guess, not protecting our merchants, but a spirit of trying to help our merchants succeed in their businesses without inviting conflict, without having, outside vendors come in that may conflict with our merchants. I mean, our merchants are the ones that are paying the bill, and our merchants are the ones that we're here to support, primarily. And so I do support, what we're doing. And I think that that's a good start, and we can always keep tweaking it. But I know that I've had merchants come up to me with concerns about having street fairs where other, where outside people would have a table and they'd be, they'd bring in stuff that our merchants are selling, and I think that this all makes a lot of sense. And but we have to be sensitive to our members and their needs, and that's just where I'm coming from. Anyway, so that's all I wanted to say.
I do have one other question. Should we I love the rubric and I'm totally supportive of it. I think, I don't even know what a rubric is. I know my daughter does, but can we call it just like rename it as our policy? So it's a little stronger message to our partners.
Well, it was
and
a
it's more than
rubric until you
pop-up.
discuss and vote on it, then it becomes a policy, yeah.
Okay, but maybe let's rename it instead of our pop-up vendor rubric, but I don't know, think about some.
We can call it a policy.
But it goes beyond just pop-ups though, right? This is
No,
marketing,
it's a
support,
event-
logistics.
Event planning, marketing and logistics policy for.
Yeah. We could.
Or is it just a vendor policy?
We could call it non-SID vendor, as you see,
Non-SID
here you've
vendor
got
policy.
SID versus non-SID, right, in the categories. Obviously, that's the whole point. So if we were to call it the non-SID vendor policy, that probably covers everything.
Well, it's SID and non-SID, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, but
it's kind of SID and non-SID.
it's only here because of non-SID.
And are
Whatever
they
you guys want.
vendors or merchants or?
It's up to you
We
guys.
don't have to decide right now. I don't know.
Right, the title.
I do think it is covering
SID
SID and non-SID vendor
Looks like a
policy.
matrix to me.
Looks like a matrix. Would you prefer to call it the vendor policy? And just say Explore Millburn Short Hills vendor policy? Or event vendor policy?
Event participation policy, non-member.
I hate to get into weeds on this. Vendor makes me think of somebody we're
I like
hiring
vendor,
who's
yeah.
outside, not like one of our constituents.
How about just our policy?
How about event participation policy?
Event participation
Explore Millburn
policy.
Short Hills event participation policy.
Perfect.
Bingo.
Okay.
Good job.
Nicely.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Cooper, do we need to take any official action?
If you want to adopt it as a formal policy, I would. As a formal policy, I would do that. If it's a consensus that this is still a work in progress, then I don't know that that's ready at this stage. So that I defer to the board. You're ready to move forward on it.
We're all.
Did we say that we would check in 6 months?
A 6
Look
month.
back, so maybe temporary.
Till the end of
It's for
We're piloting it for the rest of the year.
piloting for the remainder of 2022.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
for the duration of 2022, unless we decide something prior to that we have to act on. How's that?
This is what we want to do unless we change our minds.
Yes, exactly the plan, until it isn't.
Until something better.
Is it then something they have to re-adopt every January? Or at their reorg meeting, like what a municipality would do with its personnel policy, or is it a little more fluid?
Not necessarily. So in fact, so what I'll suggest, given the description that was just presented, I think it's utterly at this board's discretion, since it is a policy that is to be a guideline for the forthcoming months, and then to be adopted as a formal policy with the benefit of some experience. Then you need not vote on it, but of course you certainly can vote to that effect if that would make you feel more comfortable. So it really is the board's option at this point.
Well, my feeling is we should vote on it, so there's no discrepancy or no ambiguity, right? That's not
I would
discrepancy.
make a motion.
Yeah, I,
Okay, I think we agree we're gonna vote on it. So, oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to?
No, I was just letting the board member know that you can make a motion.
Oh, got it.
As she was advocating to.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the Explore Millburn Short Hills event participation policy as outlined in the item 4 in our information packet, to hold until the end of close of business December 31st, 2022.
and I'd like the second, yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Richard. Richard, second.
All right, all in favor?
I'd like the second, yeah.
No talking. All in favor?
Aye.
Amanda has one other item.
Talking.
Yeah. Okay, we've been busy. So the next item on my list is the business survey. And Jesse, am I able to share my screen to pull it up, or do you have the link?
He has it, it's up.
Okay, great. So this survey, this is a second draft. The marketing committee looked at it and gave me feedback, and as well as Jackie. And so I made a lot of changes and updates and additions today, and finalized it with the branding. The goal of this is to collect information to help with business operations support, marketing support, understand event capacity and needs, as well as collecting demographic data that we can use for grants and funding and other resources that we heard about earlier today. And then just finally, the end of it is just business identification. We need to confirm who they are, have the updated contact information, and if anyone fills this out that's not in the SID, we'll be able to determine that and pull that from the data. So we want to use the information we collect to make decisions over the upcoming months. So this is the draft as it stands today. I'm gonna, Jesse, can you click on the next button?
Did that comment on the language? I just,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I have an email ready to send you with the link and the PDF. So you'll all have a few days to take a look at that and send me any edits. I just want to go over this in general.
Thank you.
So we're asking people for business operations, growth, and training. This is one category about what is their focus as far as business for customer growth. And so that's the first question. It asks about online sales, business to business, and other options. The next one is, do people sell products and services online? And if they do, what platforms do they do that? So I have a variety here, from Etsy to their website to platforms like Thumbtack and Booksy that are more sector centric. So we just want to find out that information. It'll let us know what they're using, and then also let us know what we can inform them about. The third question is asking about tools. This is really geared towards us being able to secure training. Some things I'll be able to provide, but others we may need to get other consultants in. So these are kind of overall questions with, do they need assistance with website and apps, financing, merchandising, employee relations, HR, point of sale, registers, customer relationship management, things like that. So we just want to get a handle on what are the priorities that they feel they need help with. The next one is about having a potential business mentor program. So this is giving people the opportunity to identify themselves as someone that wants to be a mentor, as someone that would like to have a mentor, and also to identify a business that they'd like to work with. The next one is
Can I
asking
just ask
people.
on that question, sorry to
Sure.
interrupt. A mentor to whom? Like a student or another?
No, this is a business mentorship.
Participant.
So this would
be
be
a mentor to another business. Like,
right. So Splurge could be a mentor to, you know, another establishment, that kind of a thing. Does that make sense?
I mean, I'll have to think about it a little bit. I'm just a little confused as to how it's
You
drafted,
understand
but
the concept. You don't think the words.
yeah, the concept, because it's not Splurge, isn't it? It's like Julie, does she want to be a mentor to it? It's more on the people level.
Right.
I don't know, but I get it. I understand the concept.
Right, because so like the presentation that was given earlier, they have a counseling mentorship program, but you have to go through a certain workshop or training in order to have access to that, which is great. This allows us to set up relationships within the SID to support one another. So that's that idea. It's something that would absolutely be able to be defined. We just want to find out if there's any interest first. The next one on here is just asking about what the best ways people feel they can learn and utilize tools. So we're asking them about, you know, whether it's a Zoom, whether it's an in-person training, a conference, you know, just printed materials, things like that. So that's a preference question. And then we're also asking, so it was really actually a good point that Richard brought up earlier about having a breakfast. We want to prove that that's something people want. Do they want an early morning thing versus an afternoon thing? So all of these preferences are going to allow us to really hone in on what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. Jesse, if you could hit next. Okay, so this is about marketing needs, interests, and capacities. We want to confirm what people are using for social media at this time. And then the next question is, what are their priorities concerning social media moving forward? What do they want to expand upon? So we list, you know, most of the basics. They can fill in other, but it's, again, just gathering information for us. This could help us provide social media training on specific platforms. And then moving forward to question number 9. So we want to find out how people are marketing themselves now, individually. So, and non-social media marketing. So that includes your digital advertising, sponsorships, whether they're doing advertising in magazines or newspapers, signage, that kind of thing. So we just want to find out what they're currently doing, and then we can identify ways to help them kind of fill in the gaps or improve upon what they're doing. And then the next question, number 10, this is about tools and resources and trainings for marketing. We want to assess what people feel they need help with specifically related to marketing. So do they need help with their branding? Do they need help with photography and videography? Do they need help with search engine optimization, window display design? You know, is that something that people, you know, do we need to hold a workshop on that to help them professionalize the look of their windows? So this is a long list, but we feel it's a good one to identify, again, the things we need to prioritize in trainings and programs. The next one, just to get a sense of what businesses feel their target customers are. And I have 2 questions for that. One is about the age, and then the other is about location. This will help us understand what people are doing, but it'll also help me make decisions on how we're marketing Explore and to what areas and to what age groups. So again, just more information so that the money and the time we use, we can use to the greater good of the majority of the members. And then the next question, I think I already went over that, Jesse. And this question, I really want to know if people actually plan marketing and if they plan funds for it. Depending on the reference you get, it could be that people should be putting 6 to 12% of their budget aside for marketing. I don't know if any of these people do that or know that, or if everything's kind of fly by the seat of their pants. So we just want to find out kind of where they are with that. Because just, training and budgeting and planning may be a basic thing that people need at this point. If you could hit next, Jesse. Event preferences and capacities. So just like we learned with the rubric so much about how our businesses are impacted, we really want to understand moving forward what types of events people want to participate in. So this lists a variety from festivals to private events to sidewalk sales. And again, just trying to collect that information so that when we do something, we have greater participation and hopefully greater impact. If you could go to the next question, Jesse. This is a big one, is figuring out the time that's best for everyone. We've done some events on, Friday evenings, and some people want to do things on a Thursday night. Other people may want to do something on a Saturday afternoon so that families can attend. So we want to collect that information as well as the when, and also to understand if they're just not interested in participating or they feel they don't have the resources. And we can go down now. So then this is just different time frames for during the week of when people may want to have events. And then the next one is for over the weekend. And number 18 is about what is preventing people from participating in events. So I know a lot of people, when we had girls' night out, it was a staffing issue to keep places open after 5 or 6. Other people, it could be the cost, or they may think they're not getting anything out of it. So we just want to assess what those key components are that are preventing people from participating. And Jesse, if you could hit next. So this is business demographics, just collecting information on people, on the business, so that we have this to identify funding resources and other business support resources. So we have just the total number of employees, annual revenue, how many full-time employees. So like I think it's a micro grant, I'm not sure, where you can have 10 or less, right? So we need to know how many they have in order to say, hey, this would work for you, this wouldn't. Also, what categories are you in as far as minority owned, women owned, etc. Is English your first language? Trying to understand the other, other issues that could be causing difficulty for people. This is your general demographic question that you'd get on pretty much any survey about whether you're Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish. And then the secondary question is more specific. We want to ask about gender, and the main reason we want to ask about it is because some people may be, women business owned, but they're not officially listed that way. So if we can see what's going on there, we can make recommendations to people on, how to file for that and then be able to qualify for additional support.
Amanda, can I just ask a question as you're going through this?
Mm-hmm.
For all of these types of questions, are you expecting the business owner to, like, these are very personal questions.
Mm-hmm.
So is this meant to be the business owner filling out the survey?
Yes, it's meant to be the business owner, or if it's the designated manager to fill that out.
Okay,
But
so we definitely need to say that up front.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess it's just a question you were mentioning earlier, just a lot of businesses are like professional practice or like a medical practice with like multiple doctors, for example. Just to think about how we want to specify like who would fill it out, because
right.
and
No,
then it should just be one should it be just one per business and, yeah, things like
I
that?
think if we can get one per business, we're going to be very lucky.
Yeah.
And I'll go over the implementation of how we
Okay.
want to disseminate this.
Yeah.
I'll talk to Steve, but I don't think it'd be a problem if a few people did this we would know if there were multiple people
Right.
answering the survey by the identification information coming up. So Jesse, if you could scroll down and hit next. Okay, so what business are you? I know this was a concern because there may be some people in the business directory that are misidentified. So we want to provide people the opportunity to clarify that. The next ones are pretty standard. What's the name of the business address, and then the primary contact information. So who's this person, what's their email address, phone, what the phone type is. That's actually going to help us in marketing as well, because some people prefer to just get a text about things, but we don't want to be sending them to landlines. So just knowing if this is a business phone or a personal phone and what type. And then if you could hit next. The last, all right, so it won't, you have to, those are required questions. The next two questions are about communication, and they're the last questions. One is just asking people how they want to hear from us. So whether that's a text, an email, a social post, e-blasts, flyers, that kind of thing. We just want to know what their preference is so we can put our energy into those items. And move away from things that just aren't successful. And then the last question is an open-ended question, which is asking people what service can we be providing. Let me just pull it up so I can read it to you. What primary service or support item that Explore can provide to your business. We just want to give them the opportunity to put something there that's a priority for them. So again, we can help just decide, what things we're going to move forward on first. So and then there's just a thank you for taking the survey. That's what we have at this time. This could turn into, a 100-question survey, but that's not the point of this. We can survey people again. We just wanted to gather pertinent information to move forward right now. So does anyone have any questions?
I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
I think somewhere on this form, there should be I just thought about this, it's maybe something about confidentiality, because people will not, you don't want to, some information is private. And I think there should be something that says that this information will not be shared. Some kind of that this information will be held in the strictest of confidence. I think that's really important.
Is it discoverable? Is it Oprah?
Well, I
So
think,
here's
can you
the
go
thing.
back to Jesse, can you go back to the first page? That's where there was language.
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, so on the first page, we have language about this being confidential, that it's subject to
The very
Oprah.
beginning.
It's just the introduction to the survey. And I will also make that clear in the e-blasts that we send as well.
Wait,
It was
wait a
on
minute. I have a question. So you're saying the survey results are subject to Oprah, but so people's responses can also be subject to Oprah? Like that will,
Right, so I talked to Steve about it, and then, please fill me in on this if anyone has additional information. What he said he feels this would be subject to Oprah, but personal identification data would be redacted in any Oprah request.
So I can give you a little bit of context in terms of what we dealt with on the municipal side whenever we put out a survey. So years ago, when we put out a survey on flex parking removal, everyone's responses in the survey was discoverable except for people's names and addresses. But everyone could see the response, like we had to disclose the responses. And when you provide the summary of the survey, that includes any open-ended comments that are included, but without anyone's name attached to it. So I think it'd be a question, Mr. Cooper, if someone's business name is an identifying piece of information.
If you want to start taking out some of the financial.
Yeah, that's
questions.
exactly what I was
Yeah.
thinking. Exactly. Yeah.
So some of those financial questions are particularly pertinent to what we're trying to find, right? When we're talking about grant applications, or we're talking about structuring programs, we're talking about micro grants and things that we wanted to do in here. We have an understanding of what revenues are or employee numbers are. I think I defer obviously to Mr. Cooper as to how we can protect sensitive information. Obviously, if you don't know the company's name or the respondent's name and they put their income, well, it doesn't really matter. But I think that information is important for our purposes. I just don't know how
important. I'm just.
Yeah, I don't know how we get
wondering if
around
that. Oprah chills the whole idea of getting people's participation.
Yeah.
So I'll just offer, I can certainly provide some advice. I have some ideas that may or may not allay some of these concerns. But I will withhold that until we are either in executive session or I am speaking with the executive director or not a quorum, for obvious reasons that it'll be my legal advice to you. So I do have some suggestions that I think you could consider that may or may not allay those concerns that we could talk about at another time.
Is
Are
there, well, maybe what we do is that we have on the survey, something like, if you are interested in micro grant programs, which are the X category, please check this box for further information or something like that, so that somebody doesn't have to necessarily indicate what their revenue is. But micro grants are for businesses up to, I don't know what 100K in revenue. Would you be interested in hearing about micro grants?
Mm-hmm.
And that way they can say, yes, I'd be interested in hearing about micro grants, and they don't have to disclose.
Yeah, I like that approach. Yeah.
And then we can make the cert, you can speak to them professionally or confidentially. And that way then the financial parameters are not.
Are the financial questions the only thing of concern? Obviously, we talk about number of employees, total employees. Is that an issue for you?
Well, I think it would be much better for me personally if you had ranges. You have 0 to 25 employees, 25 to 50, like bigger ranges, so that it's fluid. Maybe it's seasonal and you have 50 people during the summer and you have 6 in winter. So I think the whole idea is to get as much information as possible, but you want to get the information to begin with. So you want to make it user friendly, and 10 minutes, that's great. So maybe we can, that's just my opinion. Nobody knows this, but I started my first job was with the survey unit of CBS, CBS News. So maybe, a lot of it is how you say the question.
Sure.
So just a thought.
Just to say 2 things. Well, first, thanks for putting this all together. It is asking for a lot of information. I know it's all useful, but it does seem like a lot. And some of those questions are really long. So I don't know if we want to, when we all review it, is there, do we need every single question? That would just be a question.
And I have no problem if folks feel like there's questions that are too detailed or repetitive, please include that in your comments,
Okay.
and we can certainly move things if necessary.
Yeah, 2 things I more wanted to say. One is, I would venture to say, I don't know if anyone knows, because obviously everyone here is very familiar, but I don't think the average business owner knows what Oprah is. I think we're including this for a very small segment of people. I think we should say note, it's like a note, this survey is subject to Oprah, and we should say what that stands for, because the average business owner doesn't know. So that was one note. I just think that's, I think people are just sensitive in general sharing personal info. I don't think it's Oprah that, I think just the sensitivity of some of this info, the general sensitivity to me is much more relevant for the majority of businesses than the Oprah piece.
Yeah.
If they understood Oprah, they might be concerned, but most people don't know what that is. The
Well,
other
we're
thought.
lucky to know that.
What?
We're lucky to know that.
Yes. I just don't want to forget is, could we offer, just having worked on many surveys and many types of organizations, first of all, we definitely need a respond by date when we send the email. I'm sure that'll be in there. But could we offer some kind of fun incentive, like everyone who responds by X date will be entered to win X? Just something that incents.
Yeah, we'd actually talk
businesses to
about that,
respond.
and we got caught up in getting the survey done.
Of course.
But no, that's
and
a very helpful
secondary,
reminder,
you know,
actually. Yes.
Marketing of the marketing survey.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is a helpful reminder, and I want to recognize Tracy. She gave us a super comprehensive email this morning that we went through, and it was really, really helpful, and especially that one about what industry are you in? It matches our website, and it's something that's very, very useful. Make sure that our data is correct, because that's our spreadsheet that gets all the information
It's a good
out,
way
and
to check.
that's how we set up our website. So that's a really important integration piece.
Thanks.
So thank you for that.
I am thinking we should say on that question, what is your primary business? Because I know sometimes we ourselves,
Sure.
sometimes it's not 100% clear. A business could fall into multiple. So maybe ask them, what is your primary? Because we do want a primary, for the website. But thank you for incorporating all the feedback. I know it was a lot.
I guess I would just underscore that second paragraph to me. That's when I first was questioning. I think we need to redraft that because it's confusing. Responses are confidential, utilized specifically for our planning purposes, but confidential, does that mean nobody else in the city, like who has access to that information? The responses, the board, the nod, are you gonna shred it? You can't because it's just, I'm confused by that. And then the Oprah, obviously.
So maybe Mr. Cooper could provide us with something.
We need, but it's gonna depend on, I think, the questions and the.
So the intent, right, is that administratively, this is gonna help me improve my records, right? We have to track nearly 500 businesses. So I need emails, phone numbers, contact names, websites, all that good stuff. So that's important. When that comes in, that allows me to update not only
We should
my
say that.
my
We're actually
database,
not
but
being-
the website.
Yeah.
In terms of the responses, it really becomes public record rather than get its core.
No, absolutely. But I'm wondering if you should, like, that's a lot in a survey. What if you removed all the personal to confirm our records and just get a feel of the SID business community? Like, what do you want from the, what services do you want from the SID on a totally no names basis? Like you can say, oh, we got 50% responses and here's like the trends. Most businesses want this service or like these kinds of events or don't. I mean, there's some very generic, nice, high level, big picture information that we can pull from the community and the membership without then the individual confirmation of data that this is also seeking. And I understand how valuable it would be for us to confirm our information, but that's, I think, where you get into trouble. But it's generic, hey, please respond. Let us know what we can do for you. What are your needs, all that kind of stuff.
I think that's fine if we were to add a question as to what district are you in. That to me is a core issue, right? Because businesses in different districts have obviously
very
different clients that they're
and that's
pursuing.
interesting, walking or not.
Right, and so
absolutely.
I need to know that before I make a decision, because a business on Morris Turnpike that relies on vehicular traffic is very different than a business in downtown that relies on pedestrian traffic, right? And so if I have that information and I can frame a response based at least on geography primarily, that if you feel concerned about personal data, but at least we can link a geography, that helps me put together data that's useful.
It would inform next year's, our priorities, right? I mean, it would say.
That's the whole point.
Yeah, exactly, but.
But I've got 5 districts with
No,
all
I
different
agree.
needs.
I
Yeah.
think that's an important.
But can't we, when you send these out, can't you code them separately for the 5 districts?
Well, you could, it seems
Yeah,
like a
so when
couple.
they come back, there, you know.
All you
what
need to do is
district-
just add a question. Which of the 5 districts are you in? Then I can sort it. It's easy. It's far easier than doing it the other way.
Can
And then I
just-
don't have to even know the business name.
Can I just build on Stephen's point or kind of
Yeah.
just thinking out loud? Yeah, so if you took out all of that very personalized information, I mean, we could do a separate campaign or other communications to businesses to give them the link to the directory and say, please, please check your listing in our directory. Let us know of any updates or, we're doing our annual info validation and I don't know.
I have very little faith that they would
Yeah,
respond,
they
to be
would
honest
take
with
the
you,
time
but,
to do that.
I agree.
Okay.
well, let me ask
Okay.
another question
Well,
too
but-
about,
But if you tell them that this is gonna be distributed for, to residents and this
Mm-hmm.
community-wide, and, drive engagement and participation for your business, then I have to believe that any way that this can.
well, if you guys feel like a service survey as a primary outreach and then a demographic survey, right, with contact information, secondly, right, as 2 separate outreaches makes more
Right.
sense, which is what I think I'm hearing from Stephen and Tracy. That's fine. We can build an outreach, a services survey, just knowing the geography. As long as we know that, we're fine. In fact, I'd like to see, if we get a very low response rate from services, then maybe we don't do another survey, or maybe we
Right.
change the way we approach it. That's fine, for me. I just want to know that we're getting this out fairly quickly. I want to make sure that we're getting this out in the next week or so, because we want to make sure we're avoiding some of the summer vacations and all that kind of stuff. I want to get some decent data. But if you guys feel like it's just about services, we can do that.
It would greatly if you want to get it out that quickly, it does feel to me like that would be the simple.
Could we
simpler
ask,
path.
I'm curious,
Well,
Jumana and Andrew, as
right?
business owners, would you be hesitant, would you be more likely to respond to this if it wasn't asking all of these demographic info? Or what are your thoughts on this question?
Well, I will say when I first read the survey, when Amanda sent it to me, and as you guys know, I'm very sick, so I just quickly looked at it. My first pause was at that demographic and the income information. I would definitely be very hesitant to put that out there. And that's me. That's my personal opinion. Maybe Andrew feels differently, but.
So if your name and business if it were anonymous, right? If it says this survey is anonymous.
Then different. Yeah, I don't think I would care as much, but because
Right.
my name and everything is attached to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andrew, thoughts?
Yeah, I think similarly. And the fact that I do know what Oprah is and I again, I don't know what will be redacted because Millburn dealt I just don't know. So yeah, if it were completely anonymous, different. But probably less willing to share a lot of that information, knowing that anyone and everyone might have access to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we take out that demographic data, I don't think you need to make this Oprah comment. I mean, it's just. It's just.
It's still worth, I think, putting it out there, but you don't hit those more sensitive questions that.
Right.
people pose.
Right.
I think you can always leave a line like they do on every survey. If you would like to be contacted about, I forget, somebody mentioned micro grants or mini, whatever, please, put your name and email.
Optional, that's a good way to do it. Yes,
Yeah.
if you'd like to be contacted,
Yeah.
include your info.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're not going to decide everything now, but I'd love to follow up and get also, Ryan, more input from you about what we have to say and not say. Just, we want to maximize response. I mean, we want to be honest, but we also want to maximize response and not over complicate it.
Yeah, one consideration, I guess, is if you remove the names and everything, how do you control for stacking the ballot box, right? I mean, how do you know that X number went out to X number of businesses and each, I could see it, if somebody wanted to, then they could skew the results because you wouldn't be able to track.
Well, you could say, I think there's an option, you could do 1 response per computer, and you can also say 1 response per business, please. I mean, I think if you say 1 response per business.
You don't really care about the rules.
And I think there's a way to see like the
To
IP
control.
addresses. I think there's a
Yeah,
way to say one.
there is a way to
response
check
per
that off in
computer.
SurveyMonkey.
Oh, okay, no, that's good.
That would
To,
help.
to li- on a per computer basis though, per IP address.
So-
The other thing I'll say, and this was from experience with the surveys we've done, is any personal identifying information that's redacted according to Oprah is not released even when the document is released when someone requests it. So for example, someone can request, if the document is available, an Excel breakdown of the responses, but people's responses have no meaning if there's no personal identifying information attached to each individual part. When you provide an aggregate overall, so like take the financial information, the SurveyMonkey will probably generate a breakdown of how those numbers fall out on a chart, but someone's individual response without a business name or individual name or email has no value to someone. It would just be kept internally between the organization, but outside of that, Oprah wouldn't allow someone's financial information attached to their name in the survey released. That makes sense.
So we weren't looking for a
So we weren't looking for an answer tonight. We wanted you guys to see what is the sort of first final draft. We put a lot of work into this, as you can see. Please take it home, digest it a little bit, and give us your feedback. Monday, Tuesday, ideally, spend some time with it, think about all of these issues that you guys. This is our first real big survey. And so it's going to be emailed to you.
What happened with the audio? I'm sorry. It's very hard.
To everybody, so you have it, you can play around with it. Certainly email Amanda directly with any of the comments. But I think that would be extremely helpful as a board. Because obviously it's the two of us sitting there staring at it and you get blinders. And so other eyes would be very helpful.
Do you want to set up a little subcommittee to members that can look at this one morning and
Well, I think we have to.
Well, why don't we get responses?
We have
And
to
then we can
pause for a
start
sec.
building out the revisions and then we can.
Steve,
set up
pause for a
meetings.
sec.
Jennifer?
We pause for a second.
Basement, turn off the breakers.
This cable is very sensitive.
Wish you would. This will be the quickest one I've ever given. trust me. You're all working.
No.
Keep the notes a lack of quality.
The mics will come back.
Yep. Everyone's still alive?
Yes. Let's give it the letter C.
You're now back.
Back.
Good job.
All right, just make sure you're red or green.
So I will, I'll pick up where I left off. If everyone on the board, you will receive an electronic copy via email of the survey from Amanda this evening. Please go over it over the weekend. Give us your feedback. You can email Amanda directly, marketing@exploremillburnshorthills.org. And ideally by Monday or Tuesday next week, if we could have everyone's comments. And then Jackie had mentioned, I don't know if anyone heard because of the video, should we get to a point where we need to have another meeting, we can put a subcommittee together and look at this. So if everyone would indulge us and give us those responses by Monday or Tuesday, we would appreciate it.
Sounds good. Okay. All right, now we're off to your truncated executive director report.
The abridged version. All right. So first off, we had our, I think third or fourth advisory committee meeting about 3
I'm sorry,
weeks ago.
when was it?
This was,
Hold on one second.
I'm gonna look at my calendar here. It was the 23rd, May 23rd.
22nd.
May 23rd.
I'm sorry.
Advisory committee was May
You're right.
23rd.
Sorry.
We had a presentation from UC EDC, as I mentioned. We also talked quite a bit about parking and zoning issues. And so really got some interesting feedback from businesses about how parking regulations affect them and their customers, some concerns over what some business owners perceive to be restrictive zoning that will limit development in the future. So some high-level conversations, obviously nothing to take action on from our perspective, but conversations that I'm going to be having with members of the township committee or Alex and Jesse at how we can deal with some of those issues. So that group continues to be very informative and very engaged. The 1 hour parking pilot program, if you remember, well, 2 months ago, 60 days ago or so, the township committee took our recommendation to reduce parking on Millburn Avenue between Main Street, between Town Hall and Main Street from 2 hours to 1 hour. That was part of our parking study that we did last year. It was for 60 days. And then I went out and I collected opinions from the businesses, and we also had a report from the police department. The police department did determine that there was more turnover, which was the goal, and they also issued less violations. So people were then in the 2 hours. So people were abiding by the 1 hour and doing it more rigorously than with the 2 hours. However, in conversations with the businesses, we found that the either support or opposition was very business centric. So for places like the Salad House or La Strada that have people coming in quickly, they said, well, 1 hour is great. For the Avalons of the world or the boutiques, they said, well, 1 hour is too short. And so we didn't have a definitive answer. We had, again, this is just me walking up and down the street, but 6 positive responses, 8 negative, 6 no opinions, and 5 no answers. So the result of that in my conversations with Alex McDonald is we're going to go back to the 2 hour parking for now. And we're going to work on potentially improving some of the parking act restrictions. And then I'm going to talk about the 15-minute parking as well. So I think the 1 hour duration made sense for some businesses, but it probably was not as useful as we had hoped. It was very good for some businesses, not others. So good experiment. We tried, we saw less parking violations. We did see more turnover, but certainly wouldn't harm any businesses either. And so we're going to work on some other strategies internally. But that will go back to 2 hours. I don't know the exact date, but that'll be the plan.
Can you just say those numbers again? 6 positive, 8 negative.
6 were indifferent.
Mhm.
Nobody said anything. They didn't notice anything. And 5 had no answer. So that was a total of 23.
Thank
The next thing that we worked on with parking is 15-minute parking. So in Millburn, all commercial spaces, all street spaces have a 15-minute free option. Most people see the sign that says 15-minute complimentary parking, and they don't realize that they have to go to the kiosk and actually put their credit card in and register.
How
So
would anybody know you're there when you started?
So there's this problem, right? You say, oh, complimentary. Okay, I don't have to put my credit card in. but you do, because that's how the machine works. So lots of people end up getting tickets for parking for 10 minutes because they never actually registered their car. So what we've decided to do, and we worked with the township on this, is we've designed magnets that are going to go on 25 of the parking kiosks downtown as a pilot. And they are designed to explain what you need to do. 15-minute free complimentary parking, must register your vehicle at the parking kiosk. There's just way too much confusion for a million different reasons, and it really upsets the shopper experience. And it's something that I think is an easy solve for us as a CID. So Alex was great, DPW, police department. Amanda designed the image. The delivery is expected tomorrow. So we'll put these magnetic stickers on. The reason they're magnetic is if this doesn't work or we find that it's not effective, it's not stuck to the kiosk forever. So that's the plan. We're going to run a pilot downtown. And if this works and we hear good response, we can then expand this to the other districts.
The irony, I'm sorry. The irony is that was an easy thing to accomplish with the old parking meters. Just press a button on the meter.
Yes,
it was much quicker.
It was much quicker. I'll be honest, I got dinged with the ticket for that exact reason. And, you know, and she wasn't exactly very friendly about the whole thing. But I said, I just ran in to live and ran back out. Like, you saw me. And she said, you didn't go to the kiosks. So, you know, yeah.
I think
Yeah,
some.
if you could do it on the app.
That's another
just press
problem.
a button would be.
That's the problem. The app you used to be able to, I thought, and now you can't. I don't know. It's very confusing.
15-minute parking on the app.
Yeah.
This is something else we discovered through the Business Advocacy Committee. So Jesse and I had spoken on that.
Yeah, the issue with offering the free 15 minutes is that it becomes very easy for users to continue to refresh every 15 minutes. And continue.
On the app?
Yeah, it was something that Steve and I discussed, and then I brought it to the app company, and that was the concern. And so that's why for now,
That
I'm
makes sense.
not moving in that direction. But I think the conversation is going to continue about how to make it
But they
easier.
have a way to cut you off. Like if you've parked there 2 hours, you can't re-up. But you can re-up with 15-minute.
Yeah.
Listen, I accept that. I just odd that you can do
We're not
one,
lying
you
about
can't
it,
do
trust
the
me.
other.
Yeah,
You got better things to lie about.
No.
To get into the weeds for a few moments, if someone parks in the lot for an hour and they have up to 3 hours, once the hour is up, the app may prompt them, do you want to add another 2 hours? And they can do that. However, if they park for 3 hours and then they start another 3-hour session and a parking violations officer is going through the lot, they'll see those multiple transactions within a certain hour period. And so they'll obviously know their feet on the meter. With the 15 minutes, because it's a much shorter burst, it becomes easier for people to do something that will likely get them caught. And so we don't really want to.
And the other thing that we're working on to alleviate some of this confusion is there are, I don't know how many, the exact number, but there's all these different zones, especially downtown. And so you may think that you're paying at the correct meter, but you're actually not. You're parked in a different zone. So Town Hall is a good example. There's a meter out in front of Town Hall. So if you park in the lot here and you walk across the sidewalk and pay there, you've actually paid at the wrong meter. And so we're working with Alex and Jesse to make these zones larger so that there's less of those mistakes where people get tickets. Because
why do you need zones at all? Like, shouldn't they be universal?
So the reason we have multiple zones is if there were, say, one blanket zone, even for just downtown, not all 5 districts, the parking violations officers would have to sort through dozens, if not hundreds of plates in that entire scope. Whereas if they're looking at all the license plates in zone A, they're looking at a group of 30 as opposed to say 200 to 300 at any given time, and they're just constantly looking, because they'll walk by a certain area and say, all right, this plate is valid at this time in the zone, and they can see everyone closer together. Whereas if you expand the scope too much, it becomes hard for them to manage in that.
It
So that's
sounds like
why-
a function of an antiquated app though, because if you punch in a license plate, It should be zone agnostic. The system should just say this license plate paid for.
Zone agnostic.
Sorry, I
You should
don't
patent
want to get
that
into the
one.
weeds,
No,
but I,
It's just handled differently in other cities. Like if you go to a large city like New York or Washington DC, and they have an app, and each kiosk will have a different zone number, like a 5-digit number. It'll be the same thing where someone has to put in the right zone number. I think it's just, as Steve and Alex and I have talked about it, making it like finding some sort of compromise where maybe the zones are more delineated. PVOs, parking violations officers are still able to do their jobs, and the parkers know.
Meters are great.
yeah, old fashioned meters. But what, in Summit, I know it's not a total solution at all, but they have those dedicated 15-minute spots you can pull in. And you don't have to punch anything in anywhere, and you go pick up.
Striped or something.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
that's
by the
that's
station.
part of the discussion right now that we're having with
Okay.
Alex.
Okay, good.
The other thing that I find, two things I have. Richard, what about the subscription for residents? How is that being received for the?
I'd actually defer to maybe Jesse's probably might be more in the loop on that than I am.
I think we have about 50 to 75 people that have paid for it. I'd have to check with the tax office and confirm. But it's only been around for maybe a year or two, and it's definitely something that we have to continue to look at. But I think there is a subset of people that are definitely using it, taking advantage of it.
So maybe just mention what it is for everybody that may not know.
It's a shopper parking permit. I forget exactly what the price is right now. I think it's in the $60 range, either 50 to 60. And it allows people to park legally up to the hourly requirements of each shopper lot, but without having to go to a meter or without having to go to a pay station and keep.
And isn't that zone agnostic? So once you pay that flat fee, you can.
It is.
So how do they?
I'm getting him a
enforce that?
t-shirt.
Right.
I'm zone agnostic.
You get a tax.
People like it.
Physical on your- Gotcha.
Hey, Steve, can I jump in for 1 second? I actually have to jump in a minute. I just have one question for you. Can you give us an update on the signage for the parking deck? I'm just, I haven't asked in a while, and just tell me where we're at.
Sure. So I believe the vendor is supposed to come in just after July 4th. I think that was what the date that they had set early on, but I can do a double check and just make sure that everything is going the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, it'd be really, that would be such a benefit. We've been waiting for that. I know everything's backed up, as is everything in the country, but that would be a really big benefit to the township.
Yep, I'll look into it.
Great. All right, I have to jump for another meeting. Anyway, nice seeing everybody. I'll see you guys soon.
We okay numbers wise? Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
got everybody up there. Yeah, that's true.
And then I've just got one last thing.
Did you finish 15-minute parking?
Yeah, so the 25, though actually it's 50 because they go on both sides of each kiosk, but they'll be installed probably early next week once the delivery comes in. I think it's kind of goofy, right? Like I deal with parking all day, but it really is the first interaction that our shoppers have with our community. And I think it's really good that I'm getting feedback from businesses to the CID that then gets to a very receptive administrative department, a very receptive police traffic department. So while there's a lot going on, I think this is the way that the system is supposed to work, and we're pushing to make it more efficient. We had a conversation with Alex today just about the modernity, right? I mean, this is a world of quick pickup, curb usage parking and apps and all the rest of it. And we need to do a good job as a community to modernize that. And that's why we did our study a year ago. And that's why we're continuing to deal with it on a literally daily basis. And I'm committed to try to improving our parking in this town, because we can lose money and lose customers and lose businesses if our parking doesn't work right. So with that, I just have a couple of things on the success tracker. That's attachment 5. We did welcome a new business to town, Classic Cut Barbershop, which is over on Upper Millburn Avenue. I'm probably going tomorrow to get my first haircut there. So did you go, Steve?
Yes, I did.
All right.
How was
your
I need
experience?
another one. Good. Steve
Good.
did a great job. Another Steve.
Another Steve. I'll have to ask him how he spells it.
With a J.
With a J. We hosted a merchant mixer at J. Nunez Gallery, which was a lovely evening. We also did our first fashion show at Afuzi Moda, which is on Upper Millburn Avenue. They were the first real user of our selfie box. And so they had a great idea to put together a fashion show. And they had models, they had free blowouts, free nail care, they had a runway walk. It was really a great social media experience. And the box is going to be moving tomorrow to its next home, which is One River Studio on the border of downtown in Wyoming. They actually have a big community and student art event this weekend, and so they're going to be using our box as part of that event. So we're thrilled, and we actually have it booked through September, early October, moving on a 3-week basis. So a big thanks to the DPW for moving that around every 3 weeks. But it's been a hit. And then my favorite subject, planters. We are, I think, almost finished. We updated all the planters on Morris Turnpike. We have these lovely hydrangeas that have been placed out there. And then we did take over 14 of the 16 large planters downtown, as we discussed at our last meeting. Those have been planted. They are all ready to go. And when you walk downtown, you will see that there's some beautiful trees in them with accent flowers. And those will be usable for the rest of the year. So I'll put Amanda on the task of figuring out nice holiday lighting and all the rest of it. But we are now in control of 30 planters throughout the town, and very happy to do that. The one item that I want to put on everybody's radar, the 16th, which is the K&Co Goods ribbon cutting. So this is Karen Wolf Interiors, who's an interior designer over by Short Hill Station. She opened a retail concept. It's a beautiful, beautiful store. I'm encouraging everybody to come to this event. It's next Thursday at 5:30 at her space, which is right next to her existing location. So she has 2 storefronts. Pardon me?
On Chatham Road.
On Chatham Road. So please come to that. We coordinated the live music. We have a great guitar player. Boxcar Bar is providing the food, and this is open to all the businesses and participants in the city. And that is all for me.
Okay, any board members have any comments or anything to share?
I have something. So, as Steve mentioned, or Amanda mentioned earlier, these art, in the Open Streets program, Tatiana from Art Divino will be running a workshop. It's either gonna be July 26th, midweek, to either Tuesday or Wednesday. Tuesday with a rain date of Wednesday. We are also looking at some additional programming with restaurants and shops for that evening. Once again, you can mark your calendars, July 26th and the rain date of the 27th. On June 3rd, we had how would you want to define it?
Sorry, Jackie, that was July
26th or July 27th. We had a public art discussion with a variety of participants on June 3rd that included Jesus Nunez Gallery, Mike Stockheather from One River, Steve, and myself. There was a couple of other participants that weren't able to engage due to some health issues. But what we discussed was the concept of a pop-up art gallery in one of the vacant storefronts. We also discussed a sort of call for artists, potentially for some murals that would be like the inside the art gallery, that would be of weatherproof vinyl. So this is a fluid discussion that we're going to meet again with CETA probably the last week in June and get their participation. But everyone seems to be very enthusiastic about public art, and it's a way to engage our residents, our artists. So it's on the radar and will be continued to be discussed.
And there's also a grant program.
Yes. Oh, thank you. The Essex County, we're also looking into the Essex County
Local
grant
arts
program.
and
Yes,
history grant.
local art and history grant program. So that's also on the radar. So we'll be discussing whether through the 501c3, which is the which is what we are. And so that also will be getting some traction as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Jackie. Anybody else?
Oh,
Oh,
yes, also want to mention participation in our summer events. I'm going to raise my hand. It's all in your packet, item number 3. So I am here and will raise my hand for the June 17th Friday Poet Section Live around 6 o'clock. It's a little fluid. If you I did the other one a couple of weeks ago, and Richard also participated. So around 6 o'clock, anywhere between 6 and 7, when they take a break in their opening set or before they start. So the 18th is open. Is anybody available? Maybe we can fill in a little bit of the calendar while we're all together.
I've put myself into the July dates.
Okay,
If I could
great.
Skip ahead.
Okay, so
You give me
July,
July 15th and or 16th.
I
okay.
can do 1st and 2nd. I'll be around that weekend.
Okay,
July.
so Stephen Weiner, okay. I'll get this to you, Stephen Grillo. Okay. How about anybody around the June 18th, 19th Father's Day weekend?
I'm out of town. I actually leave on Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll leave those. If anybody can look at their calendar and participate June 18th, 19th, that would be great.
But we don't need anybody for the 11 a.m.s.
Oh, okay.
Yep, so,
Okay, so it's
remove
the Saturday,
those.
so the Saturday,
and remove the last 2 at the bottom, because those are not.
okay. So
So really
Saturday, June 18th is open and
How about
the,
June 17th?
yeah,
Oh,
I'm
that's you.
I'm gonna
Okay.
take that one.
So
And
right
then-
now, it's just June 18th and July 16th.
Right,
So feel free to reach out to me if
Yeah.
you're interested in introducing the bands.
okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Wonderful.
I'm good.
Anybody else? Any thing for the good of the order? Okay, then we'll move on to our potential action items. Steve, do you want to?
You don't have to leave.
I don't think he needs to leave.
I know, I do not think he has to leave, but I'm also
Whatever you
not your-
guys want.
I'm not your keeper, so I can't, you can't.
Now you can't leave.
Parlavecchio is my keeper.
It's one of those.
He's the chairman.
Now you can't leave. This is just changing, I mean, you can even discuss it, I don't know. Ryan, you want to?
Do you want me to tee it up? Sure.
Sure.
So at the last board meeting, I believe it was at the last board meeting, at some point in time, the question came up. The executive director's contract has monthly invoicing and payments. Discussion was had about changing that to a semi-monthly, right? Yes,
Twice a month?
Twice a month.
twice a month. Is that semi, is that fine?
I
That's
think it's
semi.
5 months.
Bi-monthly.
All right. Well, tomato, perhaps.
Every 2 weeks.
It'll be twice a month, not every 2 weeks, actually.
That's the.
It's not every 2 weeks.
Thank you.
So it'll be every 2 months, but
No.
every 2
Twice.
months, thank you, see.
See if you're not paying attention.
So semi-annual sale is twice a year, so if it's semi-monthly, it's twice a month. Twice a month, payment schedule, it does require a contract change because the contract does call for monthly invoicing. So you have an amendment and a resolution approving that amendment. The only change is to permit an increased frequency of invoicing up to a maximum of twice a month. It does not change the contract value, does not change the contract payment amounts. There are no other changes.
So it's 24 payments a year instead of 12.
Correct.
Just to give you a little more continuity and rather than once a month.
Yeah.
That mortgage company wants it.
It's funny how they do those
Is
cool
that
things.
really?
You know, once a month is
It's a little tough.
little
to
tight
manage. I got
sometimes.
you. Okay, does anybody have any questions? I think it's straightforward, but I don't want to be presumptuous. Doesn't change the amount, just change the frequency. If nobody has any questions, I would ask for a motion to adopt this resolution for bi-monthly payment of the executive director.
Motion.
Second.
Second, please. Well, I heard a second from Andrew.
Andrew.
Okay, motion in a second. Let's do a roll call for this if we can, please.
Okay,
Madam Secretary.
Jumana Culligan,
Yes.
Tracy Katz Levine, yes. Michael Parlavecchio.
Yes. Yes.
Stephen Weiner.
Yes.
Did I miss anybody? Andrew Morgan,
Yes.
and Richard is not there. Okay.
Okay, that moves. Thank you. Wonderful. And then we have second, support of the Main Street pedestrian wall closure. Did you want? Sure.
So as you all know, the township proceeded with the permit requests to the state DOT for the closure of the Main Street pedestrian mall on Main Street from Essex Street to Millburn Avenue, as they had done in the previous 2 years. We were notified by the DOT probably about a month ago or so that our request was denied, and they've been denying every other town's requests as well. The recommendation that we've seen not only from other communities, including Summit, but in conversations with the DOT, is that the resolution to this issue, not a formal resolution, but the resolution to this problem, is currently being worked on by the DOT. And the recommendation was to pass an ordinance stating that this is the intent by the township committee.
For the governing body to pass an ordinance.
Correct. So Tuesday night, June 7th, the township committee introduced and initially approved the closure for July and August 24/7. They're requiring or requesting a resolution in support of that act. Obviously, this is our one board meeting for the month, so that's what's before you this evening. They will meet at their next meeting, which is what, June 21st. And I presume that they will then, upon second reading, approve that ordinance. We will then proceed with the closure. And again, we are having ongoing discussions simultaneously with the DOT as are other communities to try to figure out the best path forward. But it is, I think it's critically important that the township committee pass this ordinance, that we have it on the books, and that this body passes this resolution in support of that action.
Right. So this is just to belabor it. So this is our show of support for the action of the township committee. Without the township committee, however, passing this ordinance, it's not getting done.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes, this body has no authority to close that street. So this is our resolution in support of that action.
Are we allowed to do that? I thought my understanding was that we weren't allowed to do like take sides on political things like that. Yeah, like, are we allowed to pass a motion supporting something that the township committee is considering passing as far as an ordinance? Like, because then conversely, couldn't we, all vote and say we disagree with it and take a position on anything that the township committee has in front of them?
I mean, it's a 501c3, you obviously get into the lobbying question, right? And that might be more specifically what Andrew's getting at, but I'll defer to Mr. Cooper on this specific item.
So I just want, and I only categorically, this is not in that category, right? So this board is a good question, Andrew. I will look further into it. I am not aware of anything that would restrict this board from taking a position on a matter of public policy germane to your constituents, the business community. And to your question, this board certainly could take a position and pass a resolution advocating the defeat of an ordinance or the repeal of a policy or the support of a policy that is impacting your membership, which is the businesses.
And Ryan, isn't it?
I'm sorry, no.
But I'm sorry, just this certainly is not lobbying. And the other thing is, I would distinguish political, which would be partisan, from policy. So I think you'd be fine to take positions on public policy. I would strongly discourage any partisan political activity by the board, and I don't see that occurring at all.
Stephen, you wanted to?
No, Ryan addressed what I was going to raise. Thanks.
Yeah. And if I could just add to it, so the way this is being presented by the Township Committee is as a, what are they calling it? Pedestrian mall, right? Pedestrian mall improvement. And that's all with, it's really a creature, if you will, not even a creature, but a concept of state statute. And it's firmly within the statute that creates the special improvement district. So this is almost hand in hand with what our function is, what our purpose is. So I think it's supporting, as Ryan said, a matter of public policy that is directly within our interest.
I think that's a great point. I agree, actually, as the chair is pointing out, the ordinance that the governing body has introduced is an ordinance that is permitted by state law. That state law is actually, that specific state law that authorizes this ordinance is part of the very discrete chapter that creates special improvement districts. So this is certainly very relevant to a SID's mission.
But I have to say, Andrew, when you raised that question, all of a sudden it made the little bells go off in my head. So I think it's right. I don't think it's something that should be the practice to, come for this organization to engage in thumbs up and thumbs down on governing body action, actions. But I think this is something that is really discrete and specific to our purpose. Something.
You may call for a vote.
Yeah, so I will call for a motion. This is an adoption of a resolution again to support the Main Street pedestrian mall closure. Can I have a motion, please? Okay, moved by Jackie. Second?
Second.
Second by Stephen. Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Yeah, Jumana Culligan,
Yes.
Tracy Katz-Levine, yes. Andrew Morgan,
Yes.
Michael Parlavecchio.
Yes.
Stephen Weiner.
Yes.
And that's it for for action items. Before we adjourn, if I could just say, our next meeting is not until September 8th. That does not mean that Explore Millburn Short Hills is going on hiatus. As you heard from Jackie, there are a number of summer events and programs going on. There are a number of other initiatives going on. Steve and Amanda will be hard at work during those 2 months. We just will not have the monthly formal meetings.
By the way, I have a conflict on September 8th.
Okay. Maybe we can, if we have a problem, we can look at our calendars if we need another meeting date.
Yes. What is it, Mr. Cooper? Is it 48 hours?
You
Notice?
48 hours notice under, I would, yes, at minimum, and I think you can provide.
So we have some time.
Yeah, all right, so we can figure that out.
And just as a note, that will be our workshop meeting for the year. So if you recall, last year, our annual meeting was in November, and the meeting prior was our workshop meeting where we went over a draft budget, draft bylaws changes, so that any action that needed to be taken at the annual meeting could be done so. We moved our annual meeting up a month so that we could match the township committee's timeline. So our annual meeting this year is in October as opposed to November, which means the September meeting is our workshop meeting. So that will be a pretty full agenda. And to the chairman's point, perhaps if we do have folks that can't make that meeting for whatever reason, it is a particularly important meeting. So we can entertain potentially changing that date as needed.
Right. If there's nothing else, anybody else? Once, twice, thrice. Motion to adjourn.
So, go ahead.
All moved. By acclamation, I heard it.
Second, third.